All right, we are live. So welcome everyone to the call, and this is our February Entrepreneur Mastermind. We have got Karen on from you said you're in the Netherlands right now, right, Karen?
Yeah, in the Netherlands.
All right, so here is Karen here. So hi, Karen, and we also have got Tracy from Australia. Hi, Tracy.
Hey.
You can see all of Tracy's paintings and everything behind her as well, which is awesome. And we have Kara listening in because she organized all of this too. So a couple of just quick things I want to just share before we jump into the call. First one is I'm going to go and share my screen for a second. So if you have a look at my screen, you'll see that we have got our Entrepreneur Mastermind page up. Here it is here. And also you can see we have just posted on here the link, and so you can definitely go and post any comments or questions you have down here as we roll into the call right now as well. And the second thing I want to share is I want to share the theme of this call, because we've been on a bit of a journey over the last 6 months. And so during the journey, we've gone through every step of our pathway. So here we are now on the final step of Yellow Level, which is all about monetize your moment. So monetize your moment, I remember on the last call when we actually went through the step around master your market, it was about how do you actually make sure that you know what your identity is, how do you connect your identity to your market, and then it's all about then actually running promotions, which allows you to get to know the market better and better. A little bit like you get to know how to play a game of football better by playing game after game after game, and each one of them you have a chance to learn what worked, what didn't work, and then do it again. And as you can see here, we've got Karen, who here is with an image. These are both their profile photos from Facebook. And you can see Karen's one there is an image of him traveling. He's actually here on a beach very close to where I am in Bali, and now he's traveling around the world, as you're going to hear. And then we've got Tracy, whose passion is all in painting, and painting very specifically animals, and now branching to other things as well. And the real question is, how do you take your passion, how do you take a clear idea of what you want to be, and then be able to really make sure that you're making money out of it, without running out of money, and how do you make sure you're actually building a really great community as you're going as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an opportunity to hear, first of all, a little bit from each of those. Monetize your moment is the final step here before we get to green level, so we're going to talk a little bit about green level on this call as well, because both Karen and Tracy are on that path and now moving to the next level. Here is a couple of slides on Karen, first of all. You can see here, and I'm going to leave it on this one for a moment. There's a second one here as well. I'm going to leave here for a moment and just come over to Karen to just share a bit about what's going on here in terms of his brand that he built in New Zealand before going to Europe, and then also this which he just posted in January 25th, which was him at Abundance 360, which is the technology, Peter Diamandis' technology mastermind that I'm a part of, and here's some of our Crystal members. That's Scott there, and some of the other ones who also were there having his race, who came from Australia actually as well. So all from different places, Scott's from South Africa, and what we're going to go through here is a bit of Karen's journey, and then from there we'll go through a little bit on Tracy's as well and how they've actually used promotions to make it all work. So let me just stop sharing the screen for a moment. And Karen, I'd love for you to just share with everyone that pathway you took from basically working on an oil rig through to getting to New Zealand, and just that pathway you got when you got clear on what your identity was at that point.
Yep, no problem. So when I first met Roger, I was actually a chef and I was working on oil rigs. I was about 1 kilometre from being in East Timor, so I was still technically in Australian waters. So that was kind of annoying, but hey. And I met Roger, and I'd wanted to invest in property. Basically, I wanted to be able to go travelling full time, live the dream, and I thought property was the right way to be able to do that. And I was talking with Roger, and he's saying, you know, if you want to be investing in New Zealand, why are you living in Australia? And so I thought that was, you know, a real aha moment, a key piece of information. And so I ended up actually, I needed to first establish authority within the New Zealand market. So I created a blog and I started connecting up with the right people in New Zealand, and, you know, being able to connect with the top players. And that meant when I stepped foot back into the Auckland market, remembering I'd never even bought a property there, that I was suddenly an authority in that market. And so I was very quickly able to connect up with the top people, and of course, because I'd now quit my job, I couldn't get a mortgage, so I had to come in with a very different approach and partner up with people. So I had all the time, I was able to find the deals, I was able to partner up with people in order to buy and hold properties, but at the same time, I needed to be able to create the cash flow in order to keep going on and living. So I got my real estate license, and I started working up with one of the well, it was the top property finder or buyer's agency in New Zealand, and that also leveraged my brand because they were promoting me and what I was doing, and it was like a snowball effect. And on top of that, I was my biggest problem was that here I was at 25, not really working full time, and I didn't have any friends because all my friends would work 9 to 5. So I needed to go out and create new friends who were my age and who could go out for a coffee or a beer at midday on a Tuesday. So I created Young Kiwis in Property, which gave me it just grew. It grew massively, and I ended up cutting it off at about 1,200 people because I didn't want to water down the quality of the group. But it meant I had this massive network of young people who were out buying properties and doing investing, and we're able to do joint ventures together or just pass on our knowledge together. So that was able to build even more authority for me, so that when it came time to go traveling, because the whole goal was for me to be able to live anywhere, to travel the world, and still doing my investing back in New Zealand. So when it came time to leverage into that, I already had this network developed so that when I went out to them and said, hey guys, I'm creating a course, people just jumped on it straight away.
So, okay, so I'm going to break down a couple of things here for everyone listening. So Karen was on an oil rig, and because for anyone who's thinking, well, how do I start something from scratch if I don't have anything to begin with? And Karen was on an oil rig, and I remember the first couple of conversations I had with you, which is, well, is that where you want to be? It's like, no, it's not where I want to be. And you were actually, at that point, you had a couple of different things you were looking at, right? Like some of your family were involved in network marketing, and some people were involved in property stuff that you're thinking in. But we said, well, where would you actually want to go if you could go anywhere? And you said, well, actually, be back in New Zealand. It's like, right, well, if you're going to start from scratch, you might as well go to where you want to start from. And then I remember one of the first things, like, yeah, but how do I get involved in it if I don't have a lot of my own money and I haven't got a job to get a mortgage? And that was all about taking whatever you think your weakness is and turning it into a strength. So it's like, well, you've got your time. So there's going to be other people who've got money. How can you partner with them and with your time go find the properties and partner with them? So your first couple of property investments were actually with other people's money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so it's actually saying, right, here's the people, here's what I can offer them, here's what they're looking for. If I can give them that, then I can get the deals done. So that's how Karen got started. And then the other thing, which is like, well, I don't have the experience, it's like, well, then you use that as your brand. Karen's a star profile, so it's like, build a brand up around that. There aren't a lot of people who are young who are doing this, but there's a lot who probably want to do this. So go out and build that, and that's where the whole young Kiwis in property came from, which then built all the branding and everything out of it. And that was an example of one of those articles I showed, was an example of you getting out and creating that attraction by just making a stand. So to identify your identity, which is just saying, well, here's who I'm going to be, and then from there, mastering your market, which is who the people getting attracted to me, and then turning into promotion. You did that there, and that's basically how you got the whole thing started. That whole period took, what was it, maybe 2 years, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
All right. And then when you then said, right, now I want to go traveling, and you, I remember you told the story about how you met your girlfriend on a flight back from Bali from one of our events, and she was living out in Europe, and so now you're in Europe, and when you decided to do that, obviously a lot of people would then say, yeah, but you can't just do that because you don't know anyone there yet, you haven't got any reputation there yet. But what you did was you set up basically an online program and a mentoring program from the experience you had with a partnership that you had originally in New Zealand, and then you went and found a warm list that you could actually work with straight away, which was the people in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I knew I was going to be coming over here, and I knew I had to find a way to keep making money, and I didn't want to work over here. I've tried that in the past. I've worked in Europe. I've tried doing long-distance relationships, and none of them work. So I knew I had to live in Europe but still make my money from New Zealand or from somewhere else. And so it was, how can I do that? And what do I have? Again, I've got my time, I've got my computer, I've got my knowledge. It's just now imparting that on.
Right. Awesome.
And funnily enough, because I'm now looking at extending my course out to other mentors, and the first person I'm testing it with was actually the girl in that article, Tamsin.
That's awesome. So yeah, okay. So I'm gonna come back to you in terms of what the next steps are, the things you're now doing now that you actually got the hang of actually doing these and making it go right. I've got a note here saying Tracy needs to change computers and go upstairs due to a big storm currently going through. She'll be back online in 4 minutes. Okay, thank you, Cara. Okay, so while we're just waiting for Tracy just to jump back in, I'm going to share my screen and take you guys onto a bit of a trip on what it was that Karen went through and what each of you can go through as well, which is going to allow you to be able to see, make sure you're going through exactly these same steps and walking it through. If you're part of my Crystal Circle, you already know these processes. As part of Entrepreneur Mastermind, this might be the first time you're seeing some of what I'm going to share right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and take you to a few different places that you can go to, which are linked to what I'm about to share in a moment as well, right? So just coming back to my slides first of all. So here we are. And so, you know, here's Karen, and I'm going to come back to this whole conversation around Abundance 360, because now that Karen's got the time to be able to travel around the world, you know, what do you do with that time? Where are you going to go and what are you going to do? We're going to hear a bit more about that. And this is the Freedom Investor Blueprint, which is a great example of a non-online program, very much like the one Tyron now is talking about, where you can do it from anywhere, provided you built your, you know, you can see he actually built his network first, and then once he had his network and he had that attraction to him because people wanted to work with him, and you can see here he's already been on the media. This is what he's built up. He ends up earning the right to have his time to do what he wants with, right? Most people aren't willing to earn the right. They're not willing to stay in one place enough to get a market and then to grow from there. But once you do that, then you can keep on growing new things, right? So here's Tracy. I'm going to come back to Tracy in a moment. I shared this on the last call, creating attraction. Identify identity as who are you. So you heard Kyron's story about being clear on who he was, mastering your market, getting connected to the people that were specifically more attracted to him than anyone else, which was the younger market, monetizing your moment, which is going from one promotion to another. And then this here is what I'm about to share, and I'll come back to this as well. It's a document which you can download, and I'm going to give you the link to download it, which allows you to actually complete a promotion plan where you can say, well, what's the promotion? What am I doing? So Kyron went through a promotion plan like this when he went to New Zealand. He said, okay, well, how many properties am I going to sell? How much money do I need to raise? How many partners do I need to have? What am I going to share with them about my value, which is going to be irresistible to them? So it's got all the elements in here about why am I doing it? What's the objectives? Who are my team members? What are my timeframes and milestones? What's my irresistible offer, right? It's like you have to have an irresistible offer, which makes people go, oh, I must be part of this. And then what's the pathway where you're saying, well, I think I need this many people to go to. I think this many people will then join up. And walking through that very specific, here's how many people I invite, invitation. Here's how many are going to register. Here's how many are going to confirm. Here's how many are going to prepare to do stuff with me. Here's how many I'm going to deliver to. And that gives you your assumed numbers from everything from your registration rates and conversion rates, you know, through to your engagement rates. This all is in the document I'm going to share with you as well, okay? So, and then there's these 10 questions, and I'll come back to this after sharing with Tracy as well. But these 10 questions, which all are essential to taking off, a bit like a pilot needs to have a checklist before they can take off in their plane, an entrepreneur needs to have a checklist before they can run their promotion to say, right, I'm ready to go to the market now with something. Otherwise, we go to the market with something which isn't compelling, or there's no urgency to it, or it's something which is going to the wrong people in the wrong way, and then we wonder why we don't get the business that we thought we were going to get, right? But once you've got a promotion, you say, here's who I need to get to, here's what I think is going to happen when I go to them, you know, here's how many people I think I'm going to need to go to, you're going to find out very quickly that you're either on track or you're not. And that's what we mean by saying you're either earning or you're learning, one or the other, right? So let me share with you where you need to go, because I can see Tracy's come back on again, so we're going to come over to Tracy in a second. Let me just show you where you can go so you can go and download this straight away. And I'm also going to say we have a also very exciting new development which has happened in the last month that I'm going to share with you here as well. And that is that within Genius U, we now have got a circle that we've set up, which is just for Genius U members, right? So here's how it works. If you look on my screen, you'll see here's Genius U, and here's a link which I will put into the Entrepreneur Mastermind. There it is. It's on the actual Entrepreneur Mastermind link there. And that link will take you to a section of Genius U, which you can see at the top here. It's a new section which is called Mentors. So when you go to Mentors, there's now a number. We've actually got all of our flow consultants, all our performance consultants, all of our mentors, including me, that have set up mentor circles for whatever we've got circles for. So I have a mentor circle for Crystal Circle. I have now a Fast Forward Circle we've just opened, and our Entrepreneur Mastermind Circle. And what this allows you to actually go and join it. No one's joined yet because I just started up today. I'm going to be putting links in here, downloads in here. We're going to have a stream that's going to flow, so you can get this straight from your mobile phone, get all the information on an ongoing basis, and also obviously connect with all the other Entrepreneur Mastermind members, see who they are, see who they're connected to, what their profile is, what their passion is. It's all going to be on here as well. So that's the link definitely to get connected to. And then the second thing I want to share with you, which is everything we're talking about here, is that within the missions, there is this yellow level mission here. And the yellow level mission has got, you can go through the whole thing, but I'm going to go straight to the third part here, which is Monetize Your Moment. And on your Monetize Your Moment, this is where you'll find all of the links to this progress assessment that you can follow. And on the next page, you'll find that there is a download which will take you straight through to the monetizing playbook. Click the playbook, and you actually get a full playbook on the whole thing. Download just like that. And once it downloads, pretty quick, you can see you can open it, and it gives you the whole thing I just shared, right? As quick as that. So, and you can then go edit it, change it, everything you like, right? So this here is going to be another link I'm going to give you. So that's on here too. And I highly recommend that you go for that because it really just gives you a playbook to be able to actually plan out your missions. So with that in mind, let's now come over to Tracy. Tracy, you got a storm going on there, have you?
Yes.
You were unmuted. You just muted yourself again. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, is that better? No, these windows, it's normally blue sky. That's rain. So it's huge. So is the audio okay, Roger?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Oh, awesome.
Well, it's pouring here in Bali as well, so maybe it's a really, really, really big cloud. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tracy, here is, just because I know all of your awesome paintings were downstairs and now we're upstairs, but let me just share a couple of things here for everyone watching my screen. Here is, oops, wait, wrong screen. Here we go, try again. Here is the one on my, wow, it's gone. Where did it go? Hang on a second. I'm looking for, here it is, okay, got it. All right, this one here. So here is the screen. Oh, okay, there it is. Here's the screen which shows, just showing there, and then Tracy, right. So two things I wanted to share on Tracy here. First of all, she has a website, which I'm going to share in a moment, and then there's here, she's very active on Instagram, she's very active on Facebook. A lot of the promotions that she's run recently have actually been online, which is really interesting because I know when Tracy first joined, one of the questions was, hey, what should we do with our galleries, and what should be our growth strategy? Because she had no problem selling paintings when she was in a gallery, but we then said, hey, well, actually, let's focus more online and see what we can do there, which we're going to hear a little bit about in a moment. And then the second thing that I want to share with you is Tracy's website, so you can just get an idea of what it looks like now today. And again, there's some elements on this website where everything from her original painting she's got to now the shop that she's really developed through to her merchandising that she's doing more and more of as well. So she's got prints that she's leveraging out. So much of this, especially if you're an artist, frankly, if you're an artist or if you are like here's the cushions here, if you're an artist or if you're someone like Kyron who's traveling, the question is, well, what can you leverage, right? Once you start using products, you can leverage. You can have, instead of one painting, you can have multiple cushions, or you can have multiple prints. You can go online and you can multiply that way as well. You can build a brand, which is what Tracy's done, and that brand doesn't just need to be a personal brand like Tracy Keller. It can be a product brand, like what she's done with her Facebook page, which I'll just show you here. Because here's Tracy. She has one here, which she'll talk a bit about, called A Dog a Day. and you'll see that A Dog a Day is a new promotional site that she set up, where you can see here, like she's got all these pictures, this little Dachshund, don't know, Dachshund here, you know, there's like another one here, like where people are so in love with their dogs, and they're actually now getting a link between what Tracy's doing, which is all these paintings of dogs, through to their love of their own dog, right? So, you know, here she just had this, my dog has no idea of personal space, where all these people were submitting their photos of their dogs doing peculiar things, which is so cool. So, and then she did giveaways and all these kind of things as well. So you're getting a bit of an idea of how Tracy is quite unorthodox in the way she's doing things, but it's getting really great results. And it's more than just saying, I hope someone will buy my painting, or it's more than just saying, I'm just going to put a website up. It's actually having a very clear intent about creating something that people can get involved in and running a promotion. So, Tracy, what I'd love you to share is just that pathway. And why don't we start the Facebook site? The pathway of the Dog a Day, how you got it started, what was the trigger, and then the result of the first promotion, and then we'll take it from there.
You're a bit blurry, but I think you just said what actually started me focusing more on an income, not just from the painting. Is that what you just said, Roger?
Yeah, and with the promotion, like, and running the promotion on Facebook, just that whole process of doing that. Yeah.
So I'm really lucky as an artist. I've never been trained, and I simply paint happy paintings. And that notion of trying to create joy is something I've been doing for about 15 years. And the income that I receive from my paintings is quite amazing. And then when, you know, Kim, my husband, came aboard, and then we thought, okay, well, let's just focus on this totally. It basically meant I could increase the price, but I just felt that the price of my paintings were more, you know, still under the $5,000 mark. And so we were looking at other ways of creating an income, so I didn't have to be a slave to the easel. And because my background is merchandising, we thought we'd try print. So it started from us, you know, printing a little print using our local printer, and then buying a cheap canvas and stretching it over and testing the market, and that was exciting. And then we still have an Australian, you know, we do also use Australian-made prints, but customer demand wanted a cheaper print and a cheaper price point, so we also look offshore. And basically now every 3 months we import one 40-foot container of prints, which is pretty awesome. You know, and because of that, and our cost of goods is lower, our profits are higher, which means, you know, we can also do what we want and donate more to charities, which is a big part of our promotional plan. From that, we thought prints are a little bit difficult to freight, and especially if we want to actually go global, you know, it is quite costly to ship a print that's this big and this thick, and invariably sometimes the freight actually costs more than the print itself. So I thought of cushion covers, and they're rocking. It basically means now when I create, sometimes my intention is to create a piece that is a painting that I can sell for $3,000, but from using the model of creating a cushion cover, it actually creates that one painting is now starting to create an additional $70,000 to $100,000 worth of income with a cost of goods sitting at lower than 5%.
And that's without you having to actually even sell the. I mean, that's before you've even sold the original. That's just using it as merchandising. Yeah. So tell us about So let's talk about the Facebook promotion, right? So from the point of view of running a promotion, because all those things you're doing are all elements which actually come, like, build up piece by piece as more and more people get to know about you. And with the Dog a Day promotion, I want people to get a really good idea specifically of how quickly you came up with the idea of promotion, put the promotion in place, got the result.
Okay, so I love a challenge, and I always have so many ideas. So clearly I'm a creator, and I decided to challenge myself to, the reason I actually did it was I wanted to increase my technical capacity as a painter. So I thought I will do everything for the business. I'll supply the galleries, I'll supply my private commissions, and I also want to do a work on paper. So that's how Dog a Day started. It was actually to challenge me personally to increase my painterly skill. So I started the Dog a Day, and it was, I will paint one dog a day. The idea happened within about a week to 10 days. You actually really helped with relation to capturing lists and everything for that. And
that was for anyone who doesn't know, there's an app called WooBox which actually does a really good job, really easy job to run competitions. And that was one of the biggest things, was to build engagement. I remember we were talking about engagement and saying, rather than how much content you can create, how much content can your customers create, or what are you asking your customers to do, as opposed to just having them being passive. And you put that challenge out to your customers to say, right, post a photo of your dog, and then you'll get to choose, or you get to choose exactly which ones end up getting it. And there's one thing that happened, which I really want to highlight to everybody. You actually stopped it pretty soon after you started it, because you started getting mean messages from people saying, why didn't you choose my dog, and you're not fair, and you're not nice, and all this kind of stuff. Do you want to share that experience? And then we had that conversation, and then you got going with it again. But for anyone out there who kind of starts a promotion and suddenly gets unintended consequences of the promotion, what actually happened there?
I got stalked, and by a couple of very passionate dog people, and I didn't choose their dog. And I started receiving hate mail and posts on my other Facebook sites, and because I'm new to this and I'm not used to negative comments, I freaked out, so I promptly shut it down.
Yeah, so the whole thing stopped. It was getting so much traction, and everyone's like, wow, this is awesome. And so we talked about some different ways you can kind of still be gracious to them and make them feel good, and give them a little token nice thing of some sort without having to kind of paint a whole painting for them, which you then put all those things in place, which is really great. But you also were talking about how that then led, I mean, just before we started the call, we were on for about 10 minutes before, and you were actually giving me the numbers to say, well, here's exactly how many sales we actually made out of that, and then from there, you've got this new promotion going through. Just to give people a really good sense of that, can you just go through those numbers you're sharing with me in terms of the value of the paintings and how many were actually being sold through the promotional process? You still there, or have I lost you? Tyron, you're still there, right? I can see you. I can see you moving. All right, and I can see me moving, and I can see Tracy has frozen at a critical moment. I love technology. Okay, so I'm sure Tracy will get us back. Kara, can you just check in on Tracy so she's not happily talking to a frozen computer on her side, because she might be doing that right now. All right. So we're going to come back to Tracy in a bit when we're going to just hear the end of that story and what she's up to and what she's doing. In the meantime, I'm going to come back to Karen, because I think everyone's getting an idea now that it's one thing to know who you are, it's another thing to know who your customers are, but if you're not giving them a reason to do stuff, it's a bit like inviting them to dance and not asking them to dance, right? So a promotion is when you actually got a very specific way to do something. And the tech industry is perfect. It's full of these. Apple doesn't just kind of say, come to our shop and hopefully you'll buy something. Apple says, we've got the iPhone 5 coming out, and then there's a big razzmatazz around it, and people queue up to be part of it. Or we've got whatever new product or whatever new thing's coming. There's a whole build up and a whole way that it happens that gets everyone excited to it as well. And that even goes to why you are in LA right now, because there's, again, something like an event happens like a promotion. If you miss it, you miss everything, right? So people will always be driven to do something, not because they like something, because they might like something but do it later. They'll always be driven to do something because they like something, but they also don't want to miss out on something. So once that gets created, then everyone shows up, and that obviously just happened this last week. So what I'd love you to share is I'll just share Abundance 360 as I'll put it on the screen in a moment. But I'd love you to share just what it was around property and the technologies that we've been talking about at Fast Forward and so on, and the things you were most specifically interested about, which actually led you to actually go off to LA over this last 2 weeks.
Yeah, cool. So basically, as I got down the investment side of things, I wanted to start playing a bigger game, playing higher, and that it was actually at Fast Forward Your Business in London that I realized it was actually, while it was all exciting, it was actually once you connected all these different trends that were happening that things got really exciting. So I started thinking, imagine being able to 3D print a smart Earthship. And that basically led into a group where we take different moonshots within the property industry, because like financially wise, I'm stable. I'm able to. I've got a lot more time than I need to make money, so I'm able to play in these more experimental markets. And so I knew about Abundance 360 through you, and it's where Peter Diamandis, who wrote Abundance, he wrote Bold, talking about how exponential technologies are changing the future. And I thought, I've just got to be there. I've got to connect in with these entrepreneurs who are changing the future. And so I went there with the intention of figuring out how to 3D print houses. And there's a few different companies around the world who have 3D printers, but we were confused as hell. Like how do you start off with something which isn't even really mainstream yet? And there's two key pieces that I got out of Abundance 360. The first was when Apple created Siri. Siri was one of artificial intelligence. The technology didn't actually exist in order to harbor it. However, they knew that in 3 years' time the technology would exist, so they aimed for that 3-year mark, started working now with the aim of launching it for how technology would be in 3 years. And I think that's very much the same with how 3D printing is at the moment. So whilst there are some companies who, Winston in China, they've 3D printed a house, and there's a few companies with machines, it's not mainstream and it's not good enough yet that you can 3D print a house as we know it. But that's where the second one came in, which was they said, because we were talking about material sciences, and they started talking about rather than using today's technology or the future technology to do things how we've always done it, start asking yourself how people are going to be living in 5, 10 years' time and utilize this new technology for that. And that was when I realized that, well, one, houses, the way we design houses today is stupid. The only reason we live in boxes is simply because they're easy to build. But once you've got a 3D printer, it's no more difficult to print any shape than it is to build a box. And also, the materials that we build out of are pretty stupid. They're environmentally damaging, and if there's an earthquake, then bricks and mortar are not the best sort of building to be living in. So we're actually now heading down a different direction, which is completely different to what we've been looking at. And I've basically sparked the moonshot side of things around one question, which is how are people going to be living in 5 to 10 years' time?
Yeah, which is awesome, because then now you can actually go out and build a brand around that. And and that's exactly the same as when I talk about the future and I talk about entrepreneurship and like how the future is going to change. On the one hand, that might lead into things like the fast forward events where all these people come along for the events. But on the other hand, it just leads into even what I post on Facebook, right? Or what I post or what I do on my video. It's all part of your personal brand of who you are. Peter Diamandis has done the same thing. He was talking about mining asteroids long before he actually got people like Larry Page and Eric Schmidt actually investing in his company to mine asteroids. And I think that this is, I 100% agree with you. As we, one thing you've done is you've bought yourself the luxury of time. You've said, right, I'm going to build the business in such a way that I can travel anywhere and where I can, have my time to go out and experience what I want to experience. And then the question is, well, then what am I going to do with that time? And now you've got yourself a big question. And we're always going to be remembered much more for the problem we're solving than for the product we're delivering. And by solving a problem which continues to have new potential solutions, your products already are going to keep on evolving and growing as you go. And so for you to focus at that is a really awesome thing. I can see we've got Tracy on, so I'm going to come back to Tracy in a second, but let me then lead on to the next part, which is you were just sharing about what you're now going to do. There's a program. I'm going to look up the website while you're talking about it. There's a program you're now joining for 12 months, which allows you to go travel around the world. So you want to just share with everyone what that program is?
Yeah, so that was actually a big problem that we faced, and I've got other friends who have gone out and used property to become free, and they've gone and traveled, and after 6 months they're like, oh my god, I'm just so sick of living out of a suitcase. And so we'd been trying to figure out the different ways of how to do it, and then I came across a company called Remote Year, so remoteyear.com, and it's an entire year where you go and you travel the world, and there's 75 other entrepreneurs and remote workers, people who can, digital nomads. So as long as you can work from a laptop, then you're fine. And you go to a different city every month. So we start in Spain, then we go to Portugal, Morocco, Istanbul, Vietnam, and then down into South America. And that way, one of the biggest problems is when you move to a new area is being able to find friends, getting involved with the local community. But this way, I'm taking my friends with me as well, and it's just so exciting because I'm not living out of a suitcase. I'll actually have a home for a month, and I'm still able to go and explore the world. So again, talking on the monetizing your moment side of things, it's looking for the opportunities. So while I'm living here in the Netherlands, I've actually had a property deal come my way here in the Netherlands, which I'm looking at doing. So I'm actually looking at exploring how people can get into each market around the world as I'm traveling around the world and going out interviewing real estate agents or property developers or whoever it is, and basically showing people how that they can get into that market or how that market's working. Because interestingly enough, the Dutch market at the moment is just on that poise where it's about to take off. So if you're able to see things like that, and I'm able to give those heads up because I know how to read a market, then people are able to either jump in or they can invest in me, and I can go and invest in those markets as well.
Yeah. So one of the really important things for everyone to really get is with you have evolved your brand as you've gone, and your brand is always serving you to attract a customer base who then are going to be excited to be part of any promotion that you run. So for the fact that you can travel around the world now and know that as you go, you're going to be interviewing certain people and meeting interesting, finding out interesting things about the market, sharing that information for free, and then once in a while running a mastermind or running a particular retreat or event that people can come and join you on. And know that those are all things people will happily pay you money for if they're really getting value out of that whole pathway you're going on. It totally changes the whole mindset of having to work hard to then retire or go have a holiday. You're on a perpetual holiday, one in which you're constantly learning new things at the same time, which is really, really cool. So that's all.
Exactly.
So I just posted some links on it, but that looks really cool.
The other thing is, because I've now got an itinerary for an entire year, I can start looking for business partners or event partners and do retreats or connect up because I know where I'm going to be for the next year.
Yeah, 100%. To go to green level, you have to be already planning out a year ahead because everyone else is already planning out a year ahead as well. It's just what happens. Tracy, you're back. You're back. You're on your mute. Okay, so we got to the point, we missed you just at the point when I said give us the numbers to just share that first promotion and then what the promotion is you're running now so people can get an idea. We're not talking about just $10 or $100 out of it. Once you've got a plan and a promotion, it can generate significant numbers. Good. So could you share that with everyone?
Could you just repeat that? I'm sorry, Roger, it went all clicky. You'd like me to share...
But you actually had, on the first promotion, you had a specific number of paintings that people actually bought at a certain price point. What was that?
Mm-hmm. The first promotion for the Dog a Day, the paintings, we offered the winners a reduced price of from $1,590 to $1,000. That was taken up by about just about 1/4 of the winners. Clearly, a lot of people can't afford $500. So, but I was just blown away because it was playtime for me.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that was great. That was great.
So roughly, how many people was that? What's the quarter of how many people actually bought it?
I think I produced about 40, and I think 9 or 10 were actually taken up. So that was
So somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for that one Facebook promotion that you ran.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're running other Facebook promotions which are actually generating even more than that, and you're testing with different price points. Like do some things at $500, do some things at a higher price point. Do you want to just share how by running these promotions you're learning what works better each time?
that Dog a Day promotion, I got some really good supermodels. So there were some pictures that I actually created an image for, and even though, say there was a French Bulldog, and even though the owner didn't wish to purchase it because from a budgetary point of view, it was from the Facebook, because I posted there, I noted it went pretty crazy and heaps of people liked it and it got shared, it went on Instagram, so that to me was feedback. So from that I created a cushion cover. Due to that, I think we've probably sold about 300 of them from that, plus additional requests for pet portraits, because it's such a niche market. But pet owners are just fastidious and they love their animals. So because somebody saw that, and it's probably generated up to 5 pet portrait sales of other dogs of a similar breed. So it just connecting with one person, suddenly everybody starts talking and it goes crazy. I additionally get feedback, I get great reference material that I then put back into the business, so I can do what I love and paint.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's like if you there's a really big moment. If you want to mute us for a second. Just mute on your side. Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, it's kind of funny because the old traditional sales. So much of what I do is, and what we talk about is the opposite of sales, right? It's like it's not trying to make a sale. It's trying to have people happy enough with you that they actually want to buy, right? And then you don't have to sell anything. And one of the original kind of like sales techniques is the puppy dog close. Puppy dog close is like, some guys talk about that. You give someone a product and then have them play with it for a while, and then they're going to want it so much they're not going to want to give it back, right? So it's the puppy dog close. Like give someone a puppy dog, and then they're going to pay for you not to take it away. But you actually have created an entire a part of your business now, which is all about puppy dog clothes. But it's all about people that already got a puppy dog, and then they just want the painting. And even if they haven't got the puppy dog, they'll buy the cushion cover. I think it's hilarious. But what's so powerful about this is you have run promotions now, and you're getting better and better at running promotions, which isn't about trying to get people interested in you. It's about you showing people you're interested in them. And I think that's a really important distinction. It's about people. And so again, it's not about it's not like a sales promotion, like how do I give a discount on my product. It's about, how do I have a beginning and end to something that people can jump into, and by being part of this, they actually feel part of something, they get engaged in something, they get recognized. We run awards. Many people know the awards we run. We'll run competitions. We'll run all different things where, like they say, people don't care what you think until they think that you care. You're creating that energy, which actually makes people excited and want to come along to the next one as well. And whether it's an event you run, or whether it's a conference, or whether it's basically just having 3 weeks when you're going to give people an opportunity to do something special. These are all promotions that you can run in particular ways that can make a huge difference, right? So before I go to the next part, because I know there's questions. People have been asking questions on the post. So let me just go to the bit of housekeeping here. I'm going to just share this this document here. Oops, there's the wrong document here. I've got another one here which has got all of the comments. So in this document here, I'm going to just come over to it. I'm just going to pick one or two of the questions which are on here at the moment. So let me find it. Here it is. All right. So again, for anyone who's new on the call, or if anyone hasn't posted in yet, here we have all the successes coming through from the last course. So these are all from February. Eric's in Africa. We're going to go to South Africa in this coming month. Here is his company, which is all. Eric definitely should connect up with Kyron, because Eric's whole business is about power and environment savings for companies. And so he's already in the whole kind of green business, green energy business. So having a good time and doing some good stuff there. And then we've got others here. We've got Cheryl, who's been running her own mastermind groups, and it's going well. She's actually now working with the Entrepreneurs Institute team. So if there's any of you who are looking to be mentors or be trainers, you'll be hearing about us soon as we're growing our team. We'll be sharing more about that as well, right? And there's others that are in here as well. Allison's about to close her financial year. Betty yet 30 plus above the year before. So her business here is all in training, evolve and grow. But she's really been building her business well, which is fantastic. And then there's a whole bunch of questions in here. And what I'll do some of them you ask really long questions, some are like a bit shorter, but what I'll do is I'll come through and answer all these questions as always. And I know a lot of you are getting lots of value on that. You know, here's Monica saying thanks for answering last year's, inspired for going forward as well. But if there aren't any questions, I'm going to pick out a couple on here. If there aren't any questions, let me just check on the Facebook page, and I'm going to give Karen and Tracy a chance to share in them as well, right? So let's just have a look here and see. We've got a few different people, and I haven't updated that recently, so I'm on the wrong one. I'll go to my Entrepreneur Mastermind, and here we go. All right. Okay, a little bunch of comments on here. I think they're mainly commentary on different people saying that they're loving what you're doing, which is cool. Yeah, WooBox, maybe you can post in the WooBox link there as well for anyone who's interested in that. And okay, these are some questions around the whole element. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to come over to this one so we can just answer a couple which are on here. The first one that I'll just ask two, and then we'll kind of give both people a chance to share on it as well, right? So this one here is from Nicole and says regarding the Wealth Dynamic Square, Blaze, and Steel Energy, because we actually have got one very high dynamo, which is Tracy, very high dynamo and Blaze, which is Karen. Within Square and Steel Energy are the power of leverage, then in the power of leverage in their value, and how to make them confident about these and not try to own the product or the service. So this is all about where is the actual ability to leverage. And I think this is really, really important because there's a difference of leveraging through magnifying, which is what happens on the Blaze side, compared to leveraging through multiplying, which is what happens on the Steel side. And they're two very different things. So I'm going to be asking Tracy and Karen to share a little bit about their views on that. That's one thing I want to share. And then we have got Her Marie here. Now this is kind of interesting. I really think Her Marie should get some of Tracy's products on her site. Her Marie was actually at our Chris Circle conference as well. She's in South Africa, and she's now got her own TV show, and it's all basically about crafts at home and DIY and doing really cool stuff. And I think Tracy's artwork would be really awesome on here as well, to be honest. But she's also asking a question, right? Leaving so soon, sorry, yes, I have to come to this one, but come back later, Her Marie. Okay, in spite of my first promo doing very well and being focused on the South Africa market, it's clear that 60% of my market is still in the US. How do I monetize my moment in a foreign market? So this is a really interesting one because that's kind of exactly what Tracy's doing as well. So these are the two, and actually Karen's going to be doing this too. So I'm going to focus on these two. I'm going to start with this one first, Her Marie's one, and I'm going to come to you, Tracy, and just ask you the question. Yeah, like how much of your business would you say, because you're based in Australia, how much of your business right now is coming from people buying from outside of Australia? And you have to unmute again. Unmute.
How's that?
That's great.
Well, sorry, you can see why I'm a really good painter. All of this stuff. The majority of my business is still coming from Australia. And I know there's a reason why, and that's because all of my promotions are Australian-based. However, since we've actually revisited the website and changed things there, and also introduced another tier price point. So we have the affordable prints and cushion covers, which are between $35 to $199, and then the originals, which start at about $3,000. We've introduced a middle market, which is around the 1,000 to 1,300 mark of a hand-finished limited edition. We've targeted the UK and also America, New Zealand for that. And because we've actually done specific promotions using the Facebook model, our sales for there have increased.
Because you're targeting to those areas. Do you do a lot of promotion? Or like when you're doing a promotion, is it all through word of mouth, or are you using Facebook ads as well?
Targeting, yeah, using Facebook ads and boosting posts, and then also sourcing specific businesses that are located in there, and from you can find them on Facebook as well. So we've done some specific targeting to them, and the return on investment for that is definitely worthwhile. Can I give you an example, Roger?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about the little dash hound. You guys saw that in the post. They're those long dogs, right? So in a cushion cover, we have the front of a dog here and the back of a dog here. And we sell them like that. They are really popular. So we found a niche market. And there's an overseas niche market that love that as well. So everybody started buying them, which is fantastic. And so then we decided, how can we really give them additional value, serve them more? So I actually created a middle cushion cover of the long body. It's called an extender. Retargeted all of those people, and I would say over 70% of them purchased it. And we used Facebook ads for that as well.
Wow. Okay. By the way, I'm just if anyone's like saying what is an extender or what is Tracy talking about? Here we go. Have a look at this. This is on her site. You see this? Massive. Yeah, see the massive sausage dog, right? Check it out. It's like whee all the way along here. That's hilarious. You can make this really, really long. You can keep on just buying more and more and more. You can have a competition for the one who's got the longest. That's really funny, but that's really good. I like that. Okay, so there's a really key element to this, which is when, again, it's about making sure you're actually focusing at the right market, and then obviously you've got the product, which if you didn't have the product, you couldn't do this, right? So that's one thing for sure. The second thing is, the difference of multiply and magnify. Multiply is when you do exactly what you're doing, which is say, well, if I've got a product and I can sell 300 or 3,000, it's the same effort to do it, but I just got, just making one and making many, right? Magnify is when you can actually charge more for one thing. So now you can charge more, like whether it's, having one painting which you now know is going to be worth 10,000 because you're going to produce lots of stuff with that one painting, whether it is, painting one thing which you can actually sell as an original for 3,000 and then becomes 4,000 or 5,000. What would you say? And you're doing both strategies at the moment. What would you say is happening as a result of you doing more, reaching more people with things like cushion covers, in terms of people having more demand and actually wanting those originals that you can now start charging more and more for?
I call that supply and demand. So if I can't paint enough, I simply increase the price. Normally every year I increase probably 10 to 15%, and that's nice. What really is exciting me though is that due to that mere cushion cover, that might go to the UK, and because there are some cushion covers and some originals and some hand-finished limited editions, I have just been approached this week for a wholesale or a franchise or a licensing agreement with someone who actually wants to purchase a lot of products wholesale price. So that's, what do you think? Is that magnifying or multiplying? Which one's that?
Well, that's a really good point, right? Like the product itself, or anything that you're doing which can allow a system to grow it, all of that is all multiply. But anything which is people-based, like a partnership, taking that one time to do that one partnership, which will then make you $50,000 every single year, that's magnified because it took 1 hour to do that, and now the whole thing grows. The fact that that person, you might do a partnership with someone like a star who's got a brand, like an Oprah Winfrey, and she then uses her magnifier to get you everywhere, or you might have multiply with a distributor, where that is still magnifying as a partnership that's happening, which allows you to magnify and then be able to do that. And the reason that's so important, which kind of answers the first of our two questions, is we're not meant to do all of it, right? If you've got a good person on the Blaze side, they can do your partnerships for you. They'll be magnifying all the time, and then they'll end up with these partnerships or relationships. And similarly, you already do that. While you're creating new things, you're building a brand around that, and then that brand actually means people want the original more than they're going to go and get a fake copy from somewhere. Because and that's one of the issues you had at the beginning. It's like, what, people start copying my stuff? It's like, yeah, but that's the point, right? People, copy great artists, but they want the original because the original is such a recognized brand, which is what you're doing as well. So, hey Tracy, I'm going to come back with you on a final thing in a moment, but I want to come over to Karen on the same thing, because Karen, a lot of what you're doing is exactly that. You're getting online, you're building the blogs, you're doing all the things online, which allows you to multiply out on that side. But you definitely, as a star, want to magnify your brand. So how do you go about finding the right partners to work with, to do all the technology side, and to manage all of that for you as you grow?
To be honest, it's just kind of happened. I think that comes back to the attraction side of things. But I've actually got a very good supporter that I work with, and he's always sending my people my way and saying, you know, like, you two need to meet, and introducing us. But yeah, so when it comes to moving into new markets and that partnership side of things, I think it takes a lot of time to work on those relationships. And so I'm already sort of putting my tentacles into Australia and getting to know the major players there, because when I go into Australia, I don't want to be starting from scratch. It's easier for me to just go and find the person who's already got the customers and already got the market, and just work directly with them.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so key. And that value of you building those partnerships. In fact, that was one of the biggest things I remember at the beginning. You're like, geez, do I have to do this all myself? And it's like, actually, you know, you naturally go out to build, you know, connections with different people, and obviously love that a whole lot more than getting into the whole system side anyway, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. So, Karen, final thing I'd like to ask you is, I'm going to come back to you in a moment to ask you this, but if there was one thing you wanted to leave everyone with as a thought, what would that be? Right. So I'm going to come back to you in a second with that question. Tracy, I've got something I wanted to share everyone, which is a super surprise coming up in February, something I know you've been busy working on. So would you like me to share with everyone what this is? All right, I think you know what I'm talking about. So
am I allowed to talk about it now?
You totally are, yeah. Yeah, so I've actually got a slide. I want to show everyone a slide on it, right? So why don't I show it, and then you can tell people why you're so excited about it. Okay.
Okay.
So let's do that. So this is all about talking about the stuff we're talking about here as well, and this is something that's been happening in the background over the last couple of months since our Crystal Circle conference. So this, by the way, is when we commissioned Tracy to do a donkey painting, and that was something that I did because we have an in-joke about donkeys in, if anyone's ever heard me talk about the donkey in the tree, I have a whole story I tell about it at our Masters, and that became a bit of an inside joke. And so I've got this awesome donkey, and then Sandra organized for a donkey in return, which is the second donkey. So we now have two donkeys, two Tracy Keller originals that came from that. But one of the conversations that happened out of South Africa happened as a result of me saying that when we went to get our second resort, which we're in the process of doing right now, that when we did that, I was going to use the big five, if you know about the big five animals in South Africa, and that there was an overlay of the big five and the five elements. And it just so happens that here, by the way, is the resort I'm going to be at in a couple of weeks' time. This is, this is one of the. This is not the one that we're looking to buy, but it's one that we're running some events at while we're looking at others to buy. And so we're going to be out there during our Masters. If anyone's interested in come joining us, definitely come join us. But here, and Tracy hadn't seen this, but I took 5 of the graphics that she'd already put together, and I just kind of put them together here to share them. Tracy, do you want to share a little bit about the 5 animals and what came up as you were doing them?
Sure. I'm getting at the moment.
You getting feedback?
Yeah. Is it okay, Joran?
Oh yeah. Did you see my screen right there? Yeah. Okay. Wait. Let me. Okay. First of all, let me just share what they are so everyone kind of got what they were, and then I'll come back in a second. But as you can see here, I was sharing how the lion is the dynamo energy, the elephant is the relationship blaze energy, the rhino is the down-to-earth tempo energy, the leopard is the kind of like loner but also very precise skill energy, and then the water buffalo obviously is the water flow energy, and that each of them basically like really stand for one of the 5 elements. And when you actually are on safari and you're actually looking at a water buffalo, or if you actually buy an elephant, you can actually feel the energy. When you've actually got the lion there, you can actually feel that energy, which is coming right through them, which is really quite awesome. And that's why people love going on safari so much, because of that presence that they feel when they're with them as well. So I just shared that, but these images are all images that Tracy put together. They're much bigger than this, but obviously it's a very small picture. But yeah, so Tracy, I know we've been talking a little bit about this. What would you share about that?
I can remember it at the Crystal Circle conference when you actually mentioned that you were doing the 5 animals. My heart just would start to go boom diddy boom. And can I tell you, I was so nervous when I came up to you and said, well, maybe I could do the paintings, but I did. And then I probably couldn't sleep for about a week after it because I was just processing the animals and everything. Came up with a design. You liked the design. And what I really found really interesting as I was painting it, the two most difficult ones for me that actually initially got me quite grumpy was steel and tempo. And I thought that was really interesting considering what genius and energy I am. So the way that I got around that was I just kept on listening to you speak about, about that particular genius, and finally worked it out. They're pretty big pieces. They're 90 centimeters by 120 centimeters, which was pretty awesome. And I also love painting the colors of it. So I had a hoot doing it. So, I'm pleased that you guys like it.
They're awesome. Well, I can tell you one thing is, when people really get the 5 energies and what they feel like, obviously you can come to Vision Villas, and it'll be the same with our resort in South Africa as well, and you'll feel it when you're in each of those energies. And of course, if you're going to be creative, you need to get in your dynamo energy, and when you're going to, be in your in your spirit energy, you need to get into that water energy. And the challenge is, how do you do that in your home, or how do you do that in your office? So one of the ideas is that we can take these cushion covers, and we can take all the coffee mugs or whatever else it is, with this beautiful graphics and the paintings that Tracy's done now, and then people can get them, and they can actually have them back in your home, so you can actually have some of these as well. And this is all in the process right now, and this is all part of the whole what happens when you get dynamos together to kind of think of cool stuff. Tracy's got her hand up. Yes.
Also, when I was creating them, especially with the steel and that rhino, the tempo, I couldn't paint them in the same area in my studio. I actually had to go and move to where I sit at the computer and do what I really don't like doing, the bookkeeping. So I actually moved the table, and then it actually started flowing, and I got it. The other really interesting thing is I've actually shown the images to people, and someone who is more like an accountant, they love the leopard. They love the rhino, and I'm assuming that's probably where their genius is as well. And then people that are blaze, they're really drawn to the elephant, and the dynamos love the lion. I thought that was pretty cool.
Because you've done such an amazing, again, it's very difficult to see in these pictures here, but this is, to me, is what a great artist is, right? You've actually created the essence, and it's in the eyes. You can actually see it in the eyes. They're really quite different. Look at the difference of the leopard's eyes to the lion's eyes in terms of the energy, and I think that's what's so fantastic about these energies, and just the way that we kind of embrace them to really get into our flow. And there's no question both of you are in your flow, which I think is awesome. What I'm going to do, just a quick thing before we finish, because like I said, I'm going to obviously, we're up on time. Like I said, I'm obviously going to be, going to all of those questions and making sure we get answers to them all. But just one quick thing, just for anyone who is considering coming and seeing the handiwork, because we've got posters and things that we've got with Kelly's, with Tracy's artwork, which is actually part of this already. And at the same time, we've also got a couple of spots which I know are probably going to go this week, next week, and we're going very much to our Entrepreneur Mastermind Crystal Circle members to fill up the final spots. We've only got about 30 people we want to have for this, because it's quite a small resort for our masters, but you can see it's actually on here right now. So if you haven't actually been to masters yet, if you're thinking maybe in February it's worth coming and planning out your entire year, then just drop a line on and leave it as a note. Maybe with my phone there, and I'll drop this on here as well so that we have this. I cannot believe my phone's going right now. Okay, all right, so that's there, so you can have a look at that as well. So let me just stop this and give me 1 second. Okay, stop. Let's give 1 second to give each of you a chance just to share whatever's the biggest thing you love. I've really enjoyed this call. It's been a lot of fun having you both on here. So let me come over to you, Kyron. First of all, what would be biggest thing you'd like to just leave with everybody from this call?
I just love how perfect that timing was. It's like, drop me a line and the phone starts ringing. I'm just losing it here. I think the biggest thing that that I could give to people is just experiment and play, and ask your guys what it is they want. And when you create something, it should be flexible and mold towards what they're trying to do. It's about what the goal you're trying to get someone to. And then the second thing is, I always ask myself, how can I get something for free? So when I'm going traveling, it's like, okay, there's a cost to this, but if I did this, this, and this, then I'd be able to get to do it for free. So if you're always asking yourself that, then you can figure out how to do a promotion around what it is.
That's awesome. Really, really cool. Great advice. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
To Tracy, and same question for you, Tracy. What would be the big thing you'd like to leave everyone with?
I think the biggest thing I want to share with everyone, and I think it's probably really obvious too, is that it's all about connecting. And for the people that actually invest in me or purchase an item or a piece of merchandise, it's for me, that whole connecting with them, make them actually own it and contribute to, and make them feel as if they're actually supporting me as well. So we do a lot of surveys. I try to ensure my VA always answers any comment on all of our Facebook things. Get them to contribute, get them to actually own it as well, because then they talk to someone. And I look at where a lot of the sales come from, and it's a lot of the time is a friend of a friend of a friend, and that's where the opportunities come. So it's all about that getting personal again. The power of a handwritten letter, etc., etc.
Yeah, very cool, awesome. Thank you so much. And I think this is one of the most powerful things when you've got raving fans. A lot of people talk about job security, right? And how getting a 9-to-5 job actually is more job security than being an entrepreneur. The reality is, if you're an entrepreneur and you have no customers, that's true, because it means that you're not making any money. But if you're an entrepreneur who's got raving fans, well, then you've got all the job security you ever need, because they're always going to want to buy something from you. They're always going to see value in what you do, provided, again, that you, just like Tracy's saying, are always out there looking for the best ways to keep them even more raving fans, even happier, and actually providing them whatever it is they're looking for as well. Use those different tools that we shared. Post your questions if you have not yet, because I'll get to them all this week as well. I want to thank both of you very much for being on the call. It's been awesome, a very international call. So thank you, Karen. Thank you, Tracy, as well. All right, and we'll catch up with you all on this call. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.